Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah, and today, as part of my August eyeshadow palette extravaganza here on my channel, I am going to be ranking my Anastasia eyeshadow palettes. I thought it would be fun to do a ranking video of this type as well. I already ranked my Urban Decay Naked palettes about, I think, a year ago also, almost, I guess. Was before Naked Reloaded was out. But yeah, I did do that, so maybe you want to go and have a look at that. I will make sure to link it in the eye above. But today we're talking eyeshadow palettes by Anastasia, and to be quite honest, my love for Anastasia eyeshadow palettes is a fairly recent one. And that will also affect the order in which you will be seeing some of the palettes here. Anastasia Beverly Hills is of course a brand that so many people love for their eyeshadows, and they do have a really good eyeshadow formula. I have also tried a couple of their singles, which I also love, but for me, palettes is just where it's at, man. I just love a good eyeshadow palette, so since I have 8 of them, I thought we could have a closer look and rank them, and then I can also explain a little bit about my rather complicated relationship with the Anastasia eyeshadows. Because at the bottom of this list, take a moment. Yes, the Mono Renaissance. This is a palette that so many people loved, raved about, praised into the heavens. And I got my hands on it, and I was like, really? There are only 3 eyeshadows that truly appeal to me in this eyeshadow palette, and that is Venetian Red, Red Ochre, Antique Bronze, and if I really want to throw it in there, Vermeer as well, because that has a bit of a dent in it. Like, these eyeshadows just don't speak to me. I'm not really a big fan of warm tones. I'm just not. And one thing that I didn't like, for instance, this shade, I don't even know what to do with this. It's an orange. Like, what do I do with an orange? Then we have these 2 over here, which on my complexion just look 100% the same. These I can use interchangeably. This golden ochre shade is too yellow toned on me. It's like the undertone in a lot of the shades in this palette just don't really suit my complexion. So what I loved about these palette is these like reds and berries that are in here. That's what I go for, and that is my go-to look with this palette, is to apply a bit of red ochre really close to the lash line, and then blending it out with Venetian Red just to keep it going, and maybe a bit of Love Letter just to brighten things up, a bit of Antique Bronze to, you know, have a bit of a liner, or Cypress Umber, or either one of those on the lower lash line, and then I'm pretty much out the door. So I have only one look that I like doing with this, and that's why this is at the bottom. And this is one of the reasons why it took me a very long time to get on board with Anastasia eyeshadow palettes, because everybody was loving this and I just didn't get it. I was like, okay, everybody's loving this, but I don't really see it. And then of course we got the drama with the subculture, and I was just like, I'm just gonna stay away from it for now. A couple of palettes were released, and then of course something happened, because else I wouldn't have 8 of these. But after Mono Renaissance, there is a bit of a golden oldie. I remember tracking this down when I was on my travels in the US at some point, and this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Shadow Couture World Traveler Edition. And this was the style of eyeshadow palettes that Anastasia did before doing these like larger rectangular ones. So in here you get 12 different shades. You have a really nice neutral quad over here, which I really liked. It has Fudge, Soft Peach, Morocco, Pink Champagne is in here as well. I like that you get a purple and a blue in here. So what I was doing a lot with this palette is use this sort of like this quad to make a basic eye look, and then throw this onto the lower lash line, or that. The only 2 that I didn't really get were these 2 here, so Metallic and Intense Gaze. These just don't really suit my skin tone, but I loved Pink Champagne. I liked Bellini because it's a nice like satin shade. That Spoiled and Bellini are actually quite similar, I feel, so those work really well together. Has black, not my favorite. I don't like black eyeshadow. And then Chic is a nice like cool tone shimmer. So I felt it was a very cohesive little palette, and I believe this was released the summer before they released Modern Renaissance, so I've had this for a bit longer than Modern Renaissance, but this I liked, which is why I wanted to get this, and then this I was like, I don't see the hype. I don't know why people are loving this so much. You can also see that mine is still fairly clean, which most people use absolutely atrocious. But yeah, this is a nice handy little palette, but it's a bit older. I don't reach for it a whole lot. It has some good basics. It was a great way to try their eyeshadow formula for the first time, because at the time they were only doing singles, and those are like 10 or 13 euros a pop. So those are quite expensive. So this was a great way to sort of dip my toe in and try some Anastasia. Number 6 on the list would be this, and this is their newest release that I own. I don't own the Alyssa Edwards palette. I have no intention of buying that because it's just too similar to the Riviera palette. And that's also why the Riviera palette isn't higher up on this list, because even though I really like this, I like the quality of this, I like how you get some bright pops of color in here, I do feel that this is just a color scheme that I have elsewhere. Like, I can cobble together this kind of palette with other shadows I already have, I feel. So this is not the most unique color story by any means, but putting it all together in a palette I think was quite clever, and I like that Anastasia is going into this more colorful direction now. I think that's very clever as well. Seaside has to be my favorite shade in this palette, which is like a blue with like a gold shift. I like this mustardy shade as well. So yeah, the Riviera palette is a nice, good, solid number 6 on this list, but it's not too special to me. Bit higher up on the list, because it is more special to me, is the Prism palette. The Prism palette was limited edition for Christmas 2017, I believe. So this may be a bit harder to get, but I find that Anastasia keeps doing these palettes on their website. So even if they're sold out in regular stores, check out their website, because the official website may still stock it. That's how I got mine. I bought this off of their UK website, by the way. And one of the reasons why I just was lusting after this is Throne. And Throne is a really nice deep green shade, but when I got it in, Dimension kicked Throne off the throne, because this is just a really, really unique shade. It's a bit similar to Seaside actually, but this is a bit more purple with like a very sort of like lavender, icy, silvery shift. This is not the most cohesive color story, which is what a lot of people don't like about it, but I was able to pull some stunning looks out of this. You just have to be a bit more creative. This one, and that one go together really well. You have sort of like this neon and the green, those go really well together. You've got some warmer tones with these bronzes, oranges, and golds that also go together. So in a way, this is still very wearable. You can make it work, but you do have to make it work, which is why it's not as high on the list as some of the other palettes, because this requires a little bit more thought and a little bit more of a process before you can use it. Number 4 would be Soft Glam. Soft Glam was one that I didn't want to get because it looked very dark, and I'm very fair, so I figured that this wasn't going to work for me. However, I ordered it in the Black Friday sales because I was like, I might as well just complete the set. I'm not gonna lie, that's why I got this. The main reason why I was lusting after this was Dusty Rose, which is also a lipstick shade that they do, and I have that, and I absolutely love it. And also Rose Pink and Sultry. Those 3 shades were the main reason why I wanted to get it. I also really liked Mulberry, so there were some shades in here that really appealed to me. I just thought it was going to be too dark and too sort of smoky. But I found that this is very wearable, and for me, for my complexion, these shades work a lot better than these shades. So Modern Renaissance is a bit more warm toned, whereas this looked a lot more wearable, is a lot more everyday. Soft Glam is indeed how I would describe it. So the name goes very well with the palette. So that's why this is number 4. Top 3 time. The palette that turned things around for me when it comes to my love for Anastasia eyeshadows is this. So until this was released, the Norvina palette, I had not bought any of the Anastasia palettes. I was not interested, but then they did this color story and I was like, yep, that's got my name written all over it. It's a bit more cool toned, it has those pinks and those purples, but plenty of neutrals as well. I keep saying this, but one of these had to have been a matte purple. I stand by that. But I like that you get this like transition shade that works really well on me. Incense I like. I love Soul, which is really pretty if you apply it very intensely on the lower lash line. And I love the shimmers in here. I think they are stunning. And I love how there is a full row of shimmer and a full row of mattes. I just really, really enjoy these shadows. And that's when I was like, okay, now I get it, because the color story just works for me a lot better than some of the other ones that I've already showed you. So that's why the Norvina is in my top 3 and number 3 on that list. The Christmas release for 2018 was the Sultry, and this is my number 2 palette by Anastasia. This is really nice and sparkly packaging, and it's sort of taken off of the soft glam sultry shade that is in there, but this is a lot more cool toned, which is again why I really wanted to get it. Even though this was limited edition, as I said, you can still get this on the official Anastasia website. You get Bloom, which is a very bright peachy shade, which again for me wouldn't have to have been in there, and I would have liked this birch shade to be more cool toned rather than warm toned. It's almost like a mustardy shade, so doesn't really work for me. Everything else in here works really well. Love it. I love these like bronzy browns. Teak is like a bronzy gold, but without it being too warm toned. Ember is really nice. Cyborg is nice. I like how Dystopian is an intense dark brown that is more cool toned. So these shades work really well on me, and that's why it is number 2. But again, it has a couple of flaws. So that's my top favorite Anastasia eyeshadow palette, and this is going to have a couple of people not agreeing with me, but for me it's the Subculture. And I passed up on this at the time because it was getting so much slack. I was like, I'm not going to spend that much money on an eyeshadow palette if everybody is going on about how bad this is. And I'm so happy that I still got it because I believe by now this is being discontinued, sadly. But this is a color story that really, really appeals to me. It's still quite warm toned, but it has a lot of teals and greens and mustards and burgundies, and those are some of my very, very favorite shades, and every eyeshadow look I did with this, I loved. Are these shadows powdery? Do they need a little bit more time to work? Yes, I totally agree. But I don't have the issue of eyeshadows disappearing or sealing or anything like this. Like, all of these shades still work really, really fine for me anyways. And the only shade I had a bit of issue with was Axis. That sort of like blended out and then it wouldn't budge anymore. So that's the only issue I found tough to work with. I just think it's a matter of having an incredibly light hand, and that's what I have when I apply eyeshadow. I don't apply my eyeshadow very heavily. I just don't. I never have, which is why a lot of my eyeshadow palettes look very lightly used, because they are. So yeah, Subculture would be my favorite because it's a color story that I think is one of the most unique ones on the market. It just is. It's an eyeshadow formula that works well enough if you take the time to know how to use it. And it's just, you know, this is just me in a palette. And that's why it's my number 1 spot. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Yes, I know a bit of controversy in here, so don't shoot me. Yeah, these are just my opinions. You will probably have yours, and you're entitled to have yours, just like I'm entitled to have mine. And these were mine. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please give this video a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. That's possible, of course, as well. I would love for you to join my little family on here. And yeah, lots more content coming your way. I have a lot of eyeshadow palette videos coming to you in the month of August, so stay tuned for that. I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!
I put